So great to see you, Shaun.
Thanks for having me here. I'm very excited to learn about my brain because I feel like I've lived inside of my brain, but I have no idea what's going on in there, but I'm ready to.
Well, we're going to look.
Yes, we
and
are.
And then we'll see what's awesome. There's a lot of it. And what could be better.
We'll see what we need to work on. I love it. Thank you.
Come with me. So, Shaun, thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
My goal is to end mental illness by creating a revolution in brain health. So whatever you can do to help me make brain health cool. And I love the fact that you've been a trainer for like 25 years. I love that because, America is like one of the most unhealthy countries. And as they started taking PE out of the classroom in schools, ADHD went up and more behavior problems went up because if you're not exercising, you're not balancing the right chemicals in your brain.
To your point, I actually was really upset when they started taking phys ed classes out of schools. I was so angry about it just because I remember being in school and that and lunch, recess was my favorite part, but not because I didn't like science, because I absolutely love science. I love it. I love history. However, I always felt that I struggled. I didn't struggle with my grades, but I struggled in school socially because sitting there for 6 or 7 hours a day, just listening to someone talk to me, drove me nuts.
You did a quiz for us called the Adverse Childhood Experiences. And it's on a scale of 0, didn't have any, to 10. And we look at some of the real stressful things for children. And you had 7. So that's a lot.
You sure I didn't have 10?
And I'm working on a new project that I'm so excited about because my wife grew up in crazy. She wrote a book about it called The Relentless Courage of a Scared Child. And so she's got an 8, but her daughter has a 1. And that's the goal, from 8 to 1.
Right.
And that's what you want for your babies, right? You don't want them to have a 7.
Yeah, no.
Because that increases the risk of all sorts of trouble. So tell me your story.
So my story, I grew up in Jersey and Philadelphia. It was kind of a mix. I lived in Philadelphia until I was 7 and I moved to Jersey at 7 years old. Prior to me being born, my mother was married to my biological father, whom I've never met before. And she had my brother. They were still married, but when she was 7 months pregnant with me, he pushed her out the bathroom window. So she, I always kind of looked at my mom as being really resilient and a little stressed, but if things were happening, she would figure out a way. And us getting a lot of help from our grandparents. But anyway, so we ended up moving back to Jersey, and I call him my stepfather, but my step monster is what I call him because he basically ended up being a monster. And he was, when I was 8 years old, he started to sexually abuse me. It would be in the middle of the night. I would be asleep. He would come home drunk from Philly and he would come up the steps, open the bathroom door, and then he would come in my room. He would start molesting me by touching my butt and then finish by giving me oral sex. And I was 8 years old, and that happened from the time I was 8 to the time I was 12. Really close to when I was 13, and I'm gonna get really graphic here. I do remember the last time he did it when I was able to have an orgasm, and that was the end. It abruptly stopped then. And I'm in therapy now, and I just realized that I did everything I could to continue to get his attention after he stopped. This is gonna sound really strange, but most of us experience our first love by a boy or a girl in school, and we're just smitten, or a high school love. And I feel like he was the first person that broke my heart because for me, I did all this stuff. I didn't tell my mom. I felt like I was the savior of the family because I feel like if I would have told, he would have killed us. All these things going on in my brain for me to be abandoned, which is really odd for people to hear. But I feel like I experienced something similar to Stockholm syndrome, if it was. I became, in love with my captor, if you will. I actually just did a podcast episode about that. But so once it stopped and I was able to realize, it was almost like from heartbreak that I started to, my brain was like, this is terribly wrong.
So let's look at your brain.
Uh-oh.
So we do a study called SPECT, and SPECT looks at blood flow and activity. It looks at how your brain works. And it basically shows us three things: good activity, too little, or too much.
Okay.
And then my job is to balance it. So here's an example: really healthy brain, not a common brain, because there are very few really healthy brains in the world, right? Just make a list of 10 of your friends. Half of them need to see me. When I look at your scan, it's not as healthy as we want it to be. And so here's what it looks like. If you do it I ask you to do, it can look like this, just completely normal. If you leave here and go, he's crazy. I believe everything I read on the internet about him. That's what it's gonna look like when you're 60. No, not for my patients. That would just piss me off. So that's where it is today. Now, if we look at the active one, this is yours. And your cerebellum is sleeping. I think at some point you probably had a concussion and you just don't.
Yeah, I must not know.
So this area here, often involved in past trauma, it's the brain's gear shift. It lets you go from thought to thought, move from idea to idea, be flexible, go with the flow. And when it works too hard, people tend to loop on negative thoughts or negative behaviors. So that's probably the worry. I often think of it like a little mouse on an exercise wheel. And the
hamster wheel.
And the mouse can't get off. And the mouse is sort of irritated, but it can't get
right
off. So when you find you get a thought in your head more than 3 times, get up and go do something else. Distract yourself from the thought. And if that doesn't work, write it down and then question. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I have a new book, You Happier. I'm going to give you a copy of it. And I have so many great exercises to get beyond the word. Your emotional brain's up a bit. Now, your testing didn't show any depression at all. So if you had to pick a bad thought that runs around your head, what would it be?
Dying of cancer.
I'm going to die of cancer. All right.
Just so you know, just saying that out loud gives me, I can't even believe I said that out loud. That's crazy.
Your grandfather died of cancer, right?
Everybody died of cancer.
Everybody died.
Everyone that I loved. And one of my really good friends has cancer right now. She's in her 30s, or she might be 40 now, but
probably not everybody.
Yeah, but I'm saying the most impactful people.
Matter.
Yeah.
Words matter because your brain believes what you tell it, even if it's a lie. It believes it. And then you act as if it's true. So is that true you're going to die of cancer?
I don't know.
I don't know. Is it absolutely true? With 100% certainty, you know you're going to die of cancer. No. How does it make you feel?
Oh, sad, scared, freaks me out. I don't even know what other, it's extremely overwhelming.
Without the thought, if you couldn't have the thought, how would you feel?
Oh my God. I would just be euphoric.
5 is my favorite question. Take the original thought, I'm going to die of cancer. Turn it to the opposite. I'm not going to die of cancer. And just ask yourself if that's true.
I don't know.
Do you have any evidence you're not going to die of cancer?
No.
Well, you're not dead.
True.
As far as we know, you don't have cancer now.
Right.
Right? And you focus on living a healthy life.
Right.
But the thing that makes you suffer is you're either in the past with regret or you're in the future with fear. And learning to anchor yourself to the present moment, whether you have a year or 50 years, that's your best strategy. So I don't know, but you're already doing good. You've done a ton of good in the world. Your job is to raise your babies and love your husband.
Yeah.
And take care of the present. You do a shake every day?
Every day.
So I have a special powder. So I did the big NFL study when the NFL was sort of lying. They had a problem. I've scanned 300 NFL players, like cool people like Dick Butkus, high levels of damage. 80% of them get better when I put them on a high potency multivitamin, a brain boost that I created, and omega-3 fatty acids. That was it. 80% of them got better. Some people go, I don't like the pills. I have, it's called Bright Minds powder. In it is the high potency multivitamin plus the brain boost. And then you can put in the liquid omega-3. Tastes great. And you're done. And you don't have to take any pills.
What does the multivitamin have? Like, which, is it everything?
Everything. In the right doses for your brain.
And it's
one scoop.
Yes.
I do it every day. Your kids are 4?
Yeah.
So I have 2 kids' books we'll give you. One is called Captain Snout and the Superpower Questions about how to kill the ants.
Oh my goodness.
The
They would
automatic
love
negative
that.
thoughts. It's just a simple version
That's so
of
cool.
this. The other one's Time for Bed, Sleepy Bed, which is a hypnotic bedtime story.
Yes. Oh,
so would you make sure?
This
you
is so wonderful. Scott's gonna be
and then
very
we'll
happy.
load you up with supplements.
Please do it. That shake and the omega-3s, I'm so excited about that.
And I love it. So what I do is we have very clean protein powder that doesn't have sugar.
Does it have whey?
It does not. It has plant protein.
Oh, this is changing my life in more ways than 8.
Just make your brain get bigger. The big brain campaign. Big biceps, big brain.
I think one of the other things, yes, thank you very much. Well, this one's a little smaller, but maybe not that. However, I don't know, a lot of this was so validating, but I definitely will and helpful.
Let's be friends. We have an intimate relationship now that I have your brain.
Yes, you have my brain. I appreciate that.